The party of open borders, transgender for everybody, lawlessness in our streets are shutting down the government in an effort to appease the radical left. These Democrats are coordinating their strategy with outside leftist groups and are demanding nearly $1.5 trillion in spending for an agenda that includes healthcare for illegal aliens, and much, much more. Democrats for years have railed against government shutdowns, claiming a shutdown would mean much chaos and pain and needless heartache for the American people. Democrats are out of control, and you know who it hurts?
You, everyday people, and the most vulnerable. Seniors, veterans, working families, hungry kids, y'all.
Tell Congress to avoid the Democrat-led government shutdown.
A real post by the President of the United States there. He's got such a great sense of humor. Good morning, pineapples. Looking very good and very nice. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. L-Dubs, where you been, brother? We've been missing you. I ain't missing you at all. CO Days here, St. Selma, Quest Fanning, Siggy's mom. She's got it going on. We're all hanging out in the chat. It's nice to see everybody. Don't forget to click that like button. We'd be glad to have you be a regular guest. Just like Cat Dad 21. You got to bring a pineapple. Everybody has to bring a pineapple to the chat. But don't forget to click the like button as well. That means a lot. Good morning, you beautiful sons and daughters of liberty. It's Wednesday. Thursday? What is today? It's Thursday. Thank God. You're tuned into the only podcast that loves this country so much. We wake up angry at tyrants and go to bed dreaming about repealing the 16th Amendment. One day. One day, one day, one day. This is the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen, proud capitalist, caffeine-fueled patriot. The only man with a George Washington tattoo on his right bicep and a baby monitor on his left. I was watching an interview with Charlie Sheen yesterday, and he said that his greatest regret wasn't getting HIV, it was getting tattoos. I'm not kidding. I would have thought that the HIV would have been... I would have thought that the HIV would have been number one, but since the sound effects were off, how about we'll play them again? There you go. Thanks, Kermode. Wednesdays are like really hard for me, so like I end up being like, oh God, what day is it after Wednesdays? Had karate last night, fight night. I've got like text messages blowing up my phone. I'm trying to read your comments. Trump's not done. He's not backing down. He's done one thing none of the liberal governors, blue city mayors, or squishy establishment types have had the guts to do. He's bringing the hammer down on Antifa. Thank God. Oh my God. This is something that has kind of been a pet issue of mine for years. And I was excited to see that the president brought Andy Ngo to the White House yesterday to talk, as well as many other experts, to talk about the upcoming crackdown on Antifa. At least I hope so. Hope it'll be a crackdown. He's hosted law enforcement, federal investigators, and legal warriors at the White House for a roundtable to take these masked Marxists down. We're going to walk you through exactly what happened in that roundtable, what Trump's three-part plan is to bankrupt, expose, and to prosecute these Antifa networks. Fantastic. And why it proves once again that if you want peace, you better prepare for war. Editor-in-chief of the Human Events magazine, where I write a column, Jack Posobiec, he also appeared at the White House yesterday on the Antifa panel. This is what he had to relate.
Murder Charlie Kirk, and we saw thousands upon thousands of people, other far leftists and people in positions of authority, people like nurses and pilots and doctors and HR departments celebrating the death and the murder of Charlie Kirk. This sickness that's out there is absolutely real. And Mr. President, thank you for mentioning the fact that one of the bullet casings read, "Hey fascist, catch" on it. One of the other bullet casings right next to that had Bella Ciao written on it. Now, Bella Ciao is a song that is known in Antifa circles as the international anthem of Antifa. And all of us around this room that have studied Antifa, we're very familiar with these symbols. And Mr. President, I think the situation is getting worse. When you look at people like Luigi Maggioni, in his 20s, Thomas Matthew Crooks, of course, who took a shot at you, sir, the ICE shooter in Dallas, and now this Tyler Robinson, we're starting to see a pattern of more and more murderous violence. And this same violence is not just random. It is targeted assassinations, which are getting worse. And every single one of us in this room that goes out there, and obviously you as well, sir, and all the staff, we are now under that threat every single day. And working there at Turning Point USA, and I've spent just about the last month out there in Phoenix with Erica, with the family, with the team. And I will tell you this, Mr. President, even though going through something like that, which is an absolute nightmare, and people say, you know, what was it like to speak in front of all those people? It was horrible. Every second of it was horrible. But we're not going to quit. And Turning Point USA is continuing the tour that Charlie was on.
Good for you.
Murder.
So this is important stuff. Quest Fanning, who wants to get that bonus content unlocked. So he donated $1 and he said, treat them like Clan Tifa. That's a good one. I'm going to start using that one. I'll give you credit. We've also got Dadbod and the Baboon, Dadbod Baboon hanging out with us this morning, the Wake Up America show. Good to see you, brothers. So right after we talk about the Antifa meeting, we're going to move into the Middle East with Trump's Gaza peace plan. And folks, it's working. Congratulations. Israel and Hamas are publicly acknowledging phase 1 of Donald Trump's peace deal. And we've got the inside scoop on how a Qatari weapons warehouse mysteriously exploded just before the agreement was announced. Coincidence? Not if you know Trump. Then in the 8 o'clock hour at 8 a.m. Central Time, we're going to lighten it up with something that's blowing up online. Shock collar socialism. That's what we're calling it. That's right. Socialist influencer Hasan Piker is under fire for shocking his new puppy on a live stream while lecturing viewers about empathy and justice. You can't make this stuff up. The man wears a Rolex, lives in a mansion. Now he's electrocuting dogs while telling the rest of us to give up capitalism. We're going to roast him like he's an overcooked Beyond Burger or like he roasts his dogs.
Of all of America's much more consequential violence, okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just fucking go, just stop. Jesus Christ, what are you doing? You're being such a baby. It's just, you're making her stressed. She just literally is so incredibly spoiled from my mom.
Yeah. So boo, Hasan. Socialist influencer Hasan Piker is under fire, shocking his dog on live stream. We're going to talk to Camellia Petersen about that. And then at 8:30 this morning, we're going to hear from Will Chamberlain on the Wake Up America show. Will is going to join us on the show to talk a little bit about the growing Candace Owens problem in the GOP. It's going to be a great conversation. You don't want to miss Will Chamberlain at 8:30. The whole 8 o'clock hour is going to be fantastic. It's 7:13 a.m. Central Time and 44 degrees with wind 9 kilometers per hour east-southeast. Jefferson City, Missouri, the heart of Missouri, the heart of the United States. And of course, everybody's talking about this Katie Porter video, which, you know, I don't know how long. This is the top candidate for the governor of California to replace Gavin Newsom. And this is how she talks to reporters. Why didn't I get that video queued up properly? Good morning, pineapples. Here we go.
Let me tell you secret. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning,
Here it is.
looking very good, very nice. Good morning, pineapple.
California voters who you'll need in order to win. What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win, ma'am?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%, everybody who did not vote for Trump.
These Democrats are psychopaths, man. Look at her face. I love the memes that are coming out about this. They're like, you know that her staffers hate her because they allowed that angle from the side right there for the cameras, and then that kind of lighting for her. Oh my God. The hit pieces are going to come out after this.
How would I need them in order to win?
How would you need Trump voters in order to win the governorship of California? A reasonable question to ask if you do the math.
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%, everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're
In a general election? Yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
So how do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition. And so I'm going to do the very best I can to make sure that we get through this primary in a really strong position. But let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an experience.
But you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't
I
think
feel
you
like
need
this
them
is
to win.
unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
The question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
Correct. And I said I support it.
So, and the question is, what do you say to the 40% of voters who voted for Trump?
Oh, I'm happy to say that. It's the do you need them to win part that I don't understand. I'm happy to answer the question as you have it written, and I'll answer it.
And we've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters. Okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Okay. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered.
I don't care.
Follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation in which you ask me about every issue on this list. And if every question you're going to make up a follow-up question, then we're never going to get there.
Ms.
And
Porter,
we're just going to circle around.
I am an investigative
I have never had to do
reporter.
this before, ever.
You've never had to have a conversation with
to end
a
an
reporter?
interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make...
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these, and if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you, and I don't want this all on camera.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you either. I would love to continue to ask these questions so that we can show our viewers what every candidate feels about every one of these issues.
This is the best the Democrats have got? Gillette's the best a man can get. Gillette's the best a man can get. Here she is having a profanity-laced meltdown, and one of her staffers and footage obtained by Politico dropped yesterday. You know, the Democrats are the ones dropping these videos, by the way.
And I never have to go to the gas station.
That's awesome. And $632 is real money. And I know here at UCI, we have a National Fuel Center Research Center, and they're also doing work on how to make electric vehicles affordable, including for low and moderate income people, working moms, single moms like me, people who really could benefit from it.
I wonder why you're a single mom. Can you imagine? I wonder. Now you're a single mom.
An extra $632 in their pocket. And it's also not just the individual savings, but it's also the total savings for our economy. So I'm on the oversight committee, you might know, and that is where we did a study recently this fall in September. And what it showed is if we don't electrify our transportation sector, that we're going to lose more than 500,000 Californians dying prematurely to air pollution and other problems. And the state could lose. Get out of my fucking shot.
I wanted to tell you that that's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles. It's that if we don't meet the commitments under the Paris Climate Accord.
Okay, it does. Okay, you also were in my shot before that. Stay out of my shot. Okay, I'm going to start again with electric vehicles.
Everybody knew those chicks from high school. Oh, God. So, yeah. So President Trump is going on the offense against domestic extremism. Antifa. Yesterday in the White House, President Donald Trump convened a roundtable discussion focused entirely on the threat of Antifa and political violence. But make no mistake, I mean, this was a meeting about taking down one of the most dangerous group of domestic terrorists that the United States has seen, maybe even more dangerous than the Weather Underground. And political violence grows out of the seeds of every Antifa organization that is planted around this country. Yesterday, Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, and several private security investigators who spent years documenting Antifa's operations were there. Trump and his team made clear their mission is to dismantle the infrastructure of violence, shut off their money pipelines, and make the streets safer. Katie Davis Court yesterday testified at this meeting.
I'm an investigative journalist from Seattle. I work for the Post Millennial alongside Andy No and Jack Posobiec. I have been infiltrating Antifa cells in Seattle and Portland for the past decade. I know their inner workings, and Antifa uses extreme political violence to crush the civil rights of their political enemies and believes that violence is justified by any means necessary. But today, I want to focus on what is happening in Portland at the ICE facility. I've been covering this for the past 4 months, and this is a call out to corporate media who has completely ignored this story or has falsely reported on it. This is nothing short other than a sustained attack on the United States, which is being supported by Democratic elected officials. The Portland Police Bureau has completely abandoned several blocks outside the ICE facility, giving away their jurisdiction to a terrorist group who has spent the past 4 months harassing, assaulting, and intimidating anyone they perceive to be against their cause. Not only have federal agents been relentlessly assaulted for more than 100 consecutive days, black-clad anarchist militants concealing their identities behind black facial coverings have been assaulting reporters just for trying to cover their crimes. Today, I am sitting here with a black eye and a concussion after being violently hit in the face with a metal pole while reporting outside the ICE facility just this past week. After the attack, I immediately went to three Portland police officers who refused to detain the suspect. I took the time to chase down the suspect in the streets, had her held for 35 minutes. I was waiting for Portland police to come, and they never came.
Man, that's a tough girl right there. Got sucked in the eye with a flagpole. The local police department, she claims, refused to do anything to help. She ran to a Portland officer, hunted him down, chased to the streets. This is my assault suspect. Can you guys finally do something? Portland police refused to come in and make an arrest. She had 3 officers just standing there watching her try to hunt down the subject that slammed her in the eye with a flagpole. Katie Davis Court, I think there's a lot of men out there who would be happy to wife thee up. Looks like John in KC needs her phone number. Get her, John. Why does Trump need to send in the National Guard? Why can't just have the local police take care of it? Well, there you go. There's why you need the National Guard. President Trump announced that he directed the War Department to send all necessary troops to Portland to protect the city and its ICE facilities from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists following months of daily protests. There you go. It's time to shut it down. Katie Davis Court went on to say,
I'm an investigative journalist from Seattle. I work for the Post Millennial alongside Andy No and Jack Posobiec. I have been infiltrating Antifa cells in Seattle and Portland for the past decade. I know their inner workings, and Antifa uses extreme political violence to crush the civil rights of their political enemies and believes that violence is justified by any means necessary. But today, I want to focus on what is happening in Portland at the ICE facility. I've been covering this for the past 4 months, and this is a call out to corporate media who has completely ignored this story or has falsely reported on it. This is nothing short other than a sustained attack on the United States, which is being supported by Democratic elected officials. The Portland Police Bureau has completely abandoned several blocks outside the ICE facility, giving away their jurisdiction to a terrorist group who has spent the past 4 months harassing, assaulting, and intimidating anyone they perceive to be against their cause. Not only have federal agents been relentlessly assaulted for more than 100 consecutive days, black-clad anarchist militants concealing their identities behind black facial coverings have been assaulting reporters just for trying to cover their crimes. Today, I am sitting here with a black eye and a concussion after being violently hit in the face with a metal pole while reporting outside the ICE facility just this past week. After the attack, I immediately went to three Portland police officers who refused to detain the suspect. I took the time to chase down the suspect in the streets, had her held for 35 minutes.
Damn.
I was waiting for Portland police to come, and they never came.
That's a hell of a woman, man. That's a hell of a woman. I didn't see a ring on her finger there, guys, so go get her, John Rail. So let's be clear about what's real. Trump signed an executive order officially designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. He's also called for expanded authority to go after their financiers, their shell nonprofits, and their tech enablers. That's the real fight. That's the real fight. You got to pour the roundup on the roots, right? You've got to go after the people who are financing Antifa. You've got to go after these fake 501c3s that they set up as a means to activism, but really are just fronts for them to go out and to commit acts of violence in our communities and to shut down our streets. So the roundtable matters because this is kind of where policy begins to meet enforcement, right? Trump gathered those who hold power in this conversation, and he used that power yesterday. This is a productive use of power. He told the room, we will be very threatening to Antifa, which is kind of funny to me. The way he words things is really humorous. We will be very threatening to Antifa. Okay. Bondi, Patel, and Noam echoed that. They spoke of increasing threats to law enforcement, violent attacks against ICE agents, and radical cells organizing in cities like Portland and Chicago. This is why they need the National Guard. So follow the money. The big story is the Trump plan to go after the money. The shell NGOs, non-government organizations, they call these things, dark money channels, foreign funding. Some of it is probably coming from China, if I were to guess. Freeze their assets, cut off their bank accounts, audit those who underwrite political violence. Use federal law like RICO statutes, terrorism laws, domestic violence frameworks that the left has built to go after the right, people like you and I. Prosecute the flunkies, prosecute the organizers and the enablers. Maximize jail time for violence, arson, assault, and deploy the National Guard in cities that refuse to protect first responders. All of this perfectly in line with a libertarian nationalist playbook. Expose Antifa's online operations, the encrypted groups, the event planning forums, the fundraising funnels. Work with tech platforms to remove apps or accounts promoting violence. They've started to do that already. Pressure Apple, Google, X, Discord. Bondi said that she expects continued removal of apps that abet anti-law enforcement operations. What if they do it to us, though, Austin? Where do you think that these tools came from? Who do you think that these tools were developed for? This is a sword that was forged and was pointed at your neck, my neck, now pointed at the neck of our enemies. Oh, you don't like it? Why you keep hitting yourself? Why you keep hitting yourself? This is a battle for the soul of public order. If the state refuses to confront, if a state refuses to confront political violence, as Washington has done, as Oregon has done, masked mobs fill the vacuums. And that's why you see pretty little blonde girls with giant black eyes, because the state police and the local police aren't doing jack squat about it. If radicals can burn cities and not be held accountable, then the silent majority, those voters, they become powerless. What was the point of paying for the police officers if they don't do anything? They're just pulling a paycheck. It's taxpayer theft on top of taxpayer theft. Trump is reversing this trend. This is what I voted for. He's rebuking the permissiveness. Now the states have to step up. If they don't want Trump, it's like when your dad steps in and it's like, if you're not going to step in and fix this, then daddy's going to have to step in and fix it. And it's time for daddy to step in and fix it. And bend him over and give him a little spank. This is a vindication. This isn't just a conservative thing. You have to understand that I have been a libertarian political organizer for 20 years. I spent the first 5 years or so of my political career doing street activism, showing up to events, rallies, conducting rallies, holding protests. And at those events, whether it was the G20 summit I think it was, there's photographs of me back in the day. And I think I took a lot of photographs. I have to try and hunt those up. A lot of photographs of Antifa there on the streets it was like somewhere in Pennsylvania, I have to remember. But the G20 summit, this would have been 2000, and somebody could pull it up with a real quick search. 2009 G20 political summit. And I think it was like in Pennsylvania. And these anarchists, they're rioting. They're committing acts of violence there at the G20. And I thought to myself, I'm like, damn, these people are dangerous. Why aren't the police doing anything about these people? Well, young, naive activist that I was, the police are hired by the leftist prosecutors. They're hired by the leftist politicians, and the leftist politicians ensure that law and order breaks down so that they can intimidate anyone who would vote against them. And it becomes more like a mafia situation in many of these cities than it is an actual proper functioning American local government. So good morning, Mongoose. Nice to see you, bud. Don't forget, everybody, make sure you click that like button. And if you haven't already, if this is your first time watching the Wake Up America show, click the follow button so that you'll get a notification when we go live, which is every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. The Wake Up America show has bonus content for you today. We're only doing phase one for now. We've gone back to the drawing board on some of our bonus content. So there's no phase two today, but we do have a mini documentary. If you would prefer to watch our 5-minute Lego mini documentary today instead of commercials, keep the Rumble rants coming. I think I saw earlier Brad had posted that we had raised about $33 or so. So if you guys want to unlock the bonus content and see a mini documentary instead of our 5-minute, instead of our commercials when we go to our break for Camellia to join us 30 minutes from now, then drop a Rumble rant in the token gifter there over in Rumble. We'd be grateful for that. Or what a lot of people love to do is they love to visit the Grift Shop at thegriftshop.com. Check it out. Oh boy, look at that spin to win. You can get 15% off. Maybe win a free t-shirt. Spin to win will get you, you'll have to give your phone number and your email address, which is, of course, great for us. And we've got a bunch of great products this morning. If you go to the Grift Shop at thegriftshop.com, scroll down, you get an automatic 15% discount if you use that code GOTH15 for the Halloween collection, especially. and get yourselves a No Lives Matter hoodie, Michael Myers Halloween horror political parody sweatshirt. There you go. Get those at 4libertyshop.com. That's the number 4, libertyshop.com. And if you do, then use that code GOTH15 and you will save 15% off your purchases. All of the purchases during the live show go to unlock the bonus content. And if we hit $75 raised, then that will unlock that bonus content. We've raised $33 so far, as Brad has posted over there. Thank you, Brad. You can get a Charlie Kirk Simply Freedom shirt. We also have this in a flag, and people really love the flag. So definitely check out the Charlie Kirk merch that we have over at 4libertyshop.com. Or if you're feeling warlike, then we have our Department of War hoodies as well. So unlock that bonus content, guys, and help us to support the Wake Up America show so that the lights will stay on next month. Wouldn't you like to make sure that the Wake Up America show is on next month? I think you would. We'd be glad to have your support financially or otherwise. It's easy to contact us. Send us a text at 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are open. 573-319-1586 is the text line. That would be a great way to get in touch with us if you have a question about your order from the shop as well.
I was just dealing with people from the Middle East, Arab people and other people on the potential peace deal for the Middle East. Peace for the Middle East, it's a beautiful phrase, and we hope it's going to come true, but it's very close, and they're doing very well. We have a great team over there, great negotiators, and there are unfortunately great negotiators on the other side also. But it's something I think that will happen, got a good chance of happening. I may go there sometime toward the end of the week, maybe on Sunday, actually, and we'll see. But there's a very good chance negotiations are going along very well. We're dealing with Hamas and many of the countries. As you know, we have all of the Muslim countries are included. All of the Arab countries are included. Very rich countries and some that are not so rich, but just about everybody's included. It's never happened before. Nothing like that's happened before. And our final negotiation, as you know, is with Hamas. And it seems to be going well. So we'll let you know. If that's the case, we'll be leaving probably on Sunday, maybe Saturday, maybe a little later than Saturday evening.
Peace,
but
peace
that's
in the Middle East. Found coffee, a smile, and AP. It's a good day for a good day. Hell yes, Joni. We love you, Joni. All right, well, so this next story, this is one for the history books, guys. Well, the left is still trying to figure out what bathroom to hold their protests in. President Trump is out there doing what these so-called world leaders said was impossible, bringing peace to the Middle East. Do you think he's going to get a Nobel Peace Prize for that, guys? Do you think they're going to... Muslim. The Moors. President Trump announced that Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of his Gaza peace deal, a U.S. brokered truce signed off on by both sides with a structured plan for a ceasefire, hostage releases, and humanitarian aid corridors. But of course, the headline on this one is only half the story, as it usually is, because what really pushed this deal across the finish line, yep, you guessed it, Austin's going there. It wasn't just diplomacy. It was deterrence. It was leverage. And it came in the form of a precision strike on the one place nobody thought Israel would ever touch. Doha, Qatar. Durka Durka. Baka Allah. On September 9th, Israeli F-35s launched a targeted strike in Doha, the Qatari capital. Their target was a Hamas leadership meeting. Now, if you know your Middle East politics, you know Doha has long been Hamas's home away from home. That's the luxury hotel version of the terrorist headquarters. Qatar has housed Hamas's political bureau for years, bankrolled their social programs, and Qatar has played middleman in almost every ceasefire negotiation since 2014. Israel sent a message loud and clear: no more safe havens for the terrorists. So this strike on September 9th hit a residential complex used by Hamas's senior political operatives. Several low-level leaders were killed. A Qatari security officer was caught in the blast. And a few major figures, including negotiator Khaled al-Khalidi, barely escaped with their lives. Qatar was furious. The government condemned the strike as a flagrant violation of sovereignty and demanded an emergency session at the United Nations. Within days, the UN Security Council, with U.S. support, passed a resolution condemning attacks on Qatari soil. Now, and President Trump, he walked a careful line. He said that the targeting of Hamas is right, but the targeting of an ally's territory is not. This doesn't advance Israel or America's goals. Now, listen to that again. All right, the targeting of Hamas is right, but the targeting of an ally's territory is not. That doesn't advance Israel or America's goals. Okay? He didn't condemn Israel's intent. He condemned the timing and the location. That's strategic discipline by the president. He has got things on handle more than a lot of people give him credit for. So he's telling our allies, you can fight terrorism, but you don't get to drag the United States into regional chaos on your schedule. So why does this matter? CatDad21 says, don't harbor terrorists and you won't get bombed. Amen to that. Wish Trump wouldn't give them details to the minute when he travels. Can't trust anyone. Amen. Jenny Yay. Jenny Y. Jenny. Who do we turn to? The one with the Y in her name. Thank you, Jenny, for joining us. It's nice to meet you, by the way. It's, I think, your first time commenting. So why does this matter, right? Because Qatar, this isn't some backwater emirate, right? It's one of the richest nations on earth, sitting on more natural gas than almost anyone else, hosting one of our largest U.S. air bases, and controlling massive influence across the Muslim world through Al Jazeera, the socialist trash progressive leftist blog, Al Jazeera. If you don't know Al Jazeera, then then you're lucky. It's definitely one of the most virulent, disgusting, progressive, leftist, pro-terrorist websites in the world. And for decades, Qatar has been playing both sides, the West's partner and then Hamas's landlord. It's a classic example of what, we might call the unseen hand of hypocrisy. So Qatar runs Al Jazeera, which is the leftist progressive trash blog, but they also made a strategic investment into Newsmax, of all institutions. Now, why would Qatar, if they have an agenda, promote a leftist news blog like Al Jazeera and then invest in American media institutions like Newsmax? Interesting. Well, it's because they play both sides. They've been cutting billion-dollar checks to Hamas for, quote, humanitarian purposes, while letting them operate openly on its soil. It's like if Switzerland hosted Al-Qaeda and called it a peace conference, right? So when Israel dropped ordnance in Doha, it wasn't just a military action. This was a political earthquake, and it exposed Qatar's double game to the world. And let me tell you, nothing rattles Gulf monarchies more than the idea that their bubble of immunity just popped, that they thought that they would be immune to attacks. Now, Arvold24, he says, I wouldn't call Al Jazeera leftist when they're fundamentalist Islamic. Look up pan-Arab Marxism and leftist Marxism, Arab socialism. A lot of the Marxist leftist views that we're discussing have culminated in a movement called pan-Arabism. And Marxism and leftism and Islamic terrorism are all peas in the pod. Check it out. And a lot of there's a lot of crossover with the Muslim Brotherhood as well with Marxist organizations. Check that out, Arvolt24. It's an interesting story. It's a long story, but yes, leftists. There's a reason why there's the gays for Gaza, right? The homos for Hamas, I like to call them. There's a reason why they're all, the Nazis and the Palestinians and the butt plug wearing queers for Palestine. All of these people are all together with the Muslims because politics makes strange bedfellows. Yeah, Arvold 24. It's a fair point. The thing is that there were like conferences in I think the 20s and 30s in France, and a lot of these French philosophers, the Marxist French philosophers, like the pedophile ones especially, they were responsible for spreading Marxist ideas into the Arab world, and now we see a lot of those fruits coming home to roost. So here's where it gets interesting. So after that strike, talk about peace through strength. Damn Foucault. Thank you, L-Dubs. Yeah, that was the name I was looking for. So after this strike, Qatar was freaking out, and they're scrambling to save face. So they called an emergency Arab Islamic summit in Doha. Of course, the Arab states condemned the attack, but privately, of course, they're shitting their pants. Qatar started leaning hard on Hamas, saying, yo, we just almost got our negotiator killed in an Israeli strike in our own capital. You better start to wrap it up. It's time to wrap it up. It's time for you to double bag it. Suddenly, Hamas's host is on edge, right? Because if Israel can strike Doha once, what's going to stop them from doing it again, right? Qatar couldn't afford another incident like that, especially because if they want to maintain control of their people want to know that they can actually resist an Israeli incursion in such a way. So brilliant move by Bibi Netanyahu. So they reportedly told Hamas, get your asses to the table now. Within days, Qatari diplomats were back-channeling with Egypt and Turkey and Washington, urging Hamas to accept the Trump peace deal framework, which is this plan, this 20-point plan that Hamas had been stalling on for weeks. And guess what happened? Once Qatar put the lean on them, the deal went through. So while CNN and the New York Times are still pretending, this is, this is just about Trump's charm, the truth is that this is actually about Trump's leverage.
Obviously, blessed are the peacemakers indeed, but it is worth pointing out this is a ceasefire deal, right? This is not a larger peace deal about a Palestinian state of any sort and who gets to rule a Palestinian state and Israel gets security guarantees, how, and all that. That is still TBD, right?
I mean, yes, but, because the yes, but part of that is that, yes, this is the first phase of this deal where the two key parts of that was a ceasefire and the release of the hostages and also the release of Palestinian prisoners that are being held in Israel.
It's CNN. So it wasn't about Trump just being able to make a deal from his words. Trump had leverage, and that is because Israel used their leverage. So Trump gave Israel enough. If you think that Trump didn't sign off or allow that strike on Doha, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. Fanning will gift wrap it for you. But if you think that Trump didn't allow that strike in Doha, you're crazy. He absolutely did. He knew that Hamas was stalling and dragging their feet not to come to the table to accept Trump's 20-point peace plan. Suddenly, Israel strikes the Qatari capital where Hamas is having a meeting, and then all of a sudden, things start changing. That's leverage, right? He let Qatar feel the heat, and then he used America's diplomatic muscle to lock everyone back in a room. That's how you make heat. That's how you make peace. Not with hashtags and blacked out profiles. Pressure, right? Sivi pacem para bellum. Those who want peace must prepare for war. Congratulations, President Trump. Barney Stiles says, we have an airbase there. We absolutely allowed it. Exactly. Yeah. And I just laughed because the next day, all of the people were saying, "Oh, look at Donald Trump." People have been saying that like Israel controls Trump, et cetera, et cetera. It's so funny because then the next day, Trump brought Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House for a meeting, and there's this picture of Trump holding the phone, and Netanyahu has to call Qatar to apologize for the strike that Trump clearly allowed them to make, but it made him look like he was trying to make peace. And I mean, I know we're not supposed to call out the game, but who cares? We're calling it out because we like to know what the truth is here on the Wake Up America show. The truth is, not enough of you have clicked the like button. Click it. Nobody else going to have this conversation from this angle. They're only going to be like this way or that way. Here, you're going to get the real facts. Straight poop. So let's talk about the mechanics of the deal because it's important. The first phase lasts 21 days. Israel is to halt ground operations in central Gaza. Hamas releases women, children, elderly hostages. In return, humanitarian aid convoys coordinated by the U.S. and monitored by Egypt will enter Gaza. The second phase, which is already being drafted, is focusing on reconstruction. Here's the Trump twist. God bless him. The reconstruction contracts go to American companies, not UN bureaucrats. You love to see it. You love to see it. So Trump's turning foreign aid into American business. You want peace, you earn it, you pay for it, and an American makes money off of it. And then there's money flowing into American coffers. Thank you to Joel Ledamore. He wants to unlock that bonus content, doesn't he? He just gifted a subscription to Jenny Y. Jenny. That's capitalism for peace right there. Trump's turning foreign aid into capitalism. You want peace, you earn it, you pay for it. Capitalism for peace. That's kind of Reagan's logic applied to the Middle East. And with all of this happening, guess who steps in to make it official? The chainsaw wielding lion himself, the great libertarian lion, Javier Milei. Now, yesterday, Milei announced that he's nominating Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Congratulations. I love to see it happen. Although, who really cares? Because all the Nobel Peace Committee are all these psycho lefties anyway. We probably shouldn't give them the attention just because they're relevant. They don't matter anymore. Mr. Javier Milei, two of the most anti-globalist leaders on earth, one in Washington, one in Buenos Aires, teaming up to redefine diplomacy. Milei didn't mince words either. Listen to this. When cowards run from conflict, Trump confronts it. When others apologize for their nations, he restores them. He has done what every bureaucrat said was impossible. Boom! That's history talking right there. They're going to teach Javier Milei in Western civilization class. Thank you, Joel Ledamore, for your generosity this morning. He wants to unlock the bonus content, and he gifted Jenny Y a subscription. Jenny, what that means is that now for this month, for the next 30 days, you're eligible to join us for our premium members content on Friday nights. Right here on this Rumble channel where you just got unlocked the bonus content or where you just got our subscription to our channel, Jenny, you're now able to join us on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Central right here when we play the Freedom Arcade. And we all get together and play fun party games like Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader and a bunch of other trivia and quiz games. Friday nights are a total blast, but it's members only. So you have to look and see if you have a castle next to your name. And if you do, then you're eligible to join us for the premium members only content stream, Jenny. It's fun. 8 o'clock, grab your drink of choice. Could be coffee, could be tea, could be something else, anything that you like. And we goof around. We have an absolute blast on Friday nights. So now that you're unlocked, you can thank our buddy Joel Steelbringer. He's very generous. And come and join us on Friday nights at 8 p.m., Jenny. We look forward to seeing you there and hopefully playing some games and maybe win some prizes too. So Javier Milei steps in and he nominates Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Listen, utopia is no place. There's no perfect world, but aren't we living possibly in the best possible world? I mean, maybe the best possible world is that, I won my presidential race in 2016, right? Obviously, duh. But second best world we can live in? Hasan Piker, noted socialist Twitch streamer, is under fire after a video released showing him, video went viral showing him shocking his dog with a dog collar on stream. Hasan Piker said this when he was getting heat over it.
It's just such a lib ass, oh, dude, please don't get a Frenchie. I just wrote a Vox article talking about how problematic they are. I don't give a fuck. I know they have breathing problems. I know they're incredibly fucking inbred. I don't give a shit. I know. I don't care. Like, I don't give a shit. This is a dog.
I guess I don't either because I have 2 French bulldogs. How do you feel about it? Well, I do care that my Frenchies have trouble breathing. Here's the video in question.
Of all of America's much more consequential violence, okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just fucking go, just stop.
To sit there for 7 hours, Hasan will stream for 7 hours at a time, and the dog will have to sit there. Here's another video. Hasan Piker's dog, whenever he wants to walk around the room a little.
Christ, what are you doing? You're being such a baby. Christ, what are you doing? You're being such a baby. Christ, what are you doing? You're being such a...
All right, guys. Here's the story. Camilla Petersen is going to talk about that when we get back. Don't go away. We haven't unlocked phase 1 of the bonus content yet. Maybe drop a Rumble Rant donation or go buy a t-shirt from the Liberty Shop at forlibertyshop.com. That will unlock the mini documentary so you can watch that instead of the commercials that are coming up now. Camilla Petersen on right after that. It's the Wake Up America show, and we're on the 4 Liberty Network.
When the Founding Fathers dreamed of liberty, they forgot one thing: coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted, Patriot approved, and disappearing faster than a redcoat at Yorktown. Don't get left behind, soldier. Real patriots are starting their mornings with Founding Flavors, and trust us, freedom tastes better with a fresh cup in your hand. Stop drinking those tyrant brews who take your money and don't support your values. Stocks are limited, demand is booming, and your morning deserves a taste of liberty. Order now at forlibertyshop.com before the next shipment gets signed, sealed, and sold out. Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at forlibertyshop.com. Patriots, listen up. The sun's out, the shades are on, and the Gulf of America is wide open for business. This summer, don't show up to the beach looking like a landlocked liberal. Gear up with the Gulf of America collection: towels, tumblers, shirts, hats, fanny packs, because nothing says freedom like cannonballing into liberty with style. Whether you're grilling burgers, catching waves, or just flexing on social media, do it draped in stars, stripes, and pure American greatness. The Gulf of America isn't just a place, it's a lifestyle. Hit forlibertyshop.com and roll into summer like the Founding Fathers just handed you the keys to the coast. Beaches, BBQs, and bald eagles approved. You should too. Head over to forlibertyshop.com and get your Gulf of America gear. Summer is coming fast. That's forlibertyshop.com. This summer isn't about sunscreen and safe space.
Here at Alligator Alcatraz, the fence keeps them in. But slip up, and you're on my plate.
Looks like breakfast is making a run for it. We got 3 hot meals trying to check out early from Alligator Alcatraz.
They can splash, they can sprint, but there's no escaping Alligator Alcatraz. Caught 2.
The third? Huh.
The swamp's got its own way of catching runaways.
Legend has...
Mama was wrong. Gators don't need toothbrushes. Just an honest job making America great again.
Legend has it, back in 1773, a band of angry, overtaxed patriots stormed a British ship, found the king's favorite tea, and said, "This would taste better without the tyranny." Then they tossed it overboard. Fast forward to today. That revolutionary spirit lives on in Boston Harbor Black, the boldest brew in the 4 Libert tea lineup. It's dark, it's smooth, it's unapologetically American, just like the folks who drink it. Whether you're sweetening it up on the front porch or drinking it straight like a Minuteman before battle, this isn't tea for royalty, it's tea for rebels. No fake flavors, no corporate slogans, just a cold glass of "Don't Tread on Me" in liquid form. So skip the woke iced tea aisle and stock up on Boston Harbor Black at 4libertyshop.com. Because when the heat's rising, the least you can do is drink like a patriot. Look, not all t-shirts are created equal. Some just sit there. Others start conversations. The ones at 4libertyshop.com, they raise eyebrows, win arguments, and occasionally get you banned from PTA meetings. Whether you're repping freedom, mocking tyrants, or just making the left squirm, we've got the gear that says what you're thinking. Loud, proud, unapologetic. Grab yours today at 4libertyshop.com because your shirt should speak louder than your neighbor's bumper sticker. When the Founding Fathers dreamed of liberty, they forgot one thing: coffee. Introducing Founding Flavors Coffee, the brew that built America, and the brew that's fueling a new revolution, one kitchen at a time. Small batch roasted, Patriot approved, and disappearing faster than a redcoat at Yorktown. Don't get left behind, soldier. Real patriots are starting their mornings with Founding Flavors, and trust us, freedom tastes better with a fresh cup in your hand. Stop drinking those tyrant brews who take your money and don't support your values. Stocks are limited, demand is booming, and your morning deserves a taste of liberty. Order now at 4libertyshop.com before the next shipment gets signed, sealed, and sold out. Founding Flavors Coffee, the official brew of morning rebellions everywhere. Get yours at 4libertyshop.com.
Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show that's on the 4 Liberty Network. I love AI. From the fence to the tree, let Hasan's dog be free. Good morning, pineapples. Getting very good and very nice. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. We've been pretty serious this morning, so we're going to talk about something, I don't know. To me, it's a less serious subject, but honestly, people don't care about Palestinians or Israelis dying. All they care about is dogs. If the dog died, bleeds, it leads. That's what I was thinking, actually, is that the Israelis, after October 7th, they shouldn't have posted the videos and photos of the women being raped and murdered. They should have posted the photos of the dead dogs that the Palestinians killed, because people care about animals more than they care about people. They do. It's sad, but that's the truth. Socialist streamer Hasan Piker, famous for calling himself a working class hero while living in a $3 million mansion. He's under fire after a clip surfaced appearing to show him activating his dog's shock collar on stream. You can actually hear the beep before the yelp, and now the internet is split between people defending it as training and others calling it flat out cruelty. Joining me now, our own Camellia Petersen, who always brings a grounded moral lens to stories like this. Camellia, nice to see you.
Good morning. Yeah, you know, there is a correlation between animal cruelty and, you know, psychopaths.
It's true. And I'm glad we're going to have this conversation today, because I think there's a lot of room for gray area and nuance in this conversation. And I'm not promising that my audience is going to like my take on this one, but I use you as a shield so that they can like you and still want to watch the show. Because of my antisocial personality traits. So, Camellia, what exactly happened on Hasan Piker's stream, and how did this story blow up so fast?
I mean, the clip that was going around and that I saw is he's on a rant and he's saying how much he hates this country. And then in the background, you see his dog kind of like move around a little bit and then sort of like step down, not like doing anything wild or anything, just kind of being very quiet in the background. And he sees it and the anger gets directed at the dog. And then he pushes something, he does something, and the dog yelps and then gets back up on the bed and lays down, having been chastised.
Okay, so there's always kind of a debate about intent versus impact. I mean, even if he says it's for training, do you think that broadcasting animal pain to millions is kind of a sign of desensitization that he's doing when he's doing to this? He's doing it in front of all of these people. Is the problem that he did it at all, or that he did it on camera?
Oh, I think that this is a completely a power issue with him, and a control issue. He wants to show that he's in charge, because this is actually not the first video of him doing these kind of things with dogs. There was another one that's going around, and he just, like, the way he talks to the dogs, if you do this or whatever, I'm going to literally kill you, and all of these kind of things. Like, this is not, like, I think this is compensation. He's making up for his own securities by exerting control over animals, because you can train a dog, and don't get me wrong, like, sometimes you do have to use firm measures, but there are much better ways to train dogs, and they don't involve, constantly using a shock collar.
Now, to Hasan's credit, and for journalistic ethics purposes, I must say that Hasan does deny that he did this. And he says that what happened is that she snagged her claw. And says that, I've had that happen before, where Calvin or George will all of a sudden yip, and it's because they snagged their claw on something, and it's something that does happen. But the collar is visible, and of course the internet is going to do what it does, and the internet has identified the collar as an Educator K9 800 Tactical, which is a dual shock plus vibration model with removable prongs. Hasan reportedly removed the electro prongs and taped over their slots, likely to mask its shock functionality, which of course contradicts his claim that it is vibration only. So how do you feel about shock collars, Camelia?
I don't know. I've never used them, obviously. I think that there are much better ways to train dogs. And here's the thing. There are probably only certain breeds that people feel like that they need to use that measure with in order to do training. So I don't know, this is not, there may be people who are experts in this area who train dogs for a living who would have a different take on this. But I think for your normal person, who is just trying to train their dog to be still and do what they're told, or different things like that, just the basics that are not, life and death situations, I don't think that's necessary. We've never used that, and we've always worked with training our dogs, and they're pretty well behaved for the most part. But I don't know. I don't see the need for it. And the thing is this is not just about, if it had been, I think if the circumstances, the context had been different, people maybe wouldn't have reacted the same way. But he's in the middle of an angry rant, and he turns that anger toward the dog. And that is really the biggest difference. And I think that that's the context in which people are convinced that because he was angry, that he then took it out on the dog.
That is an interesting angle that I hadn't considered about that one there. So it's not like you're not training the dog in a manner so as to try and protect it, which, I would argue. And have I used a shock collar in the past on dogs? Yes, I have. I will admit that. And we'll have a conversation about that in just a moment, what my feelings are when it comes to it and what's appropriate. But I would never do it on camera, on video, in the middle of an angry rant. I never try to correct my dogs out of anger.
Right.
I do so because I'm trying to help them, not hurt them, or to prevent them from getting harmed, not to just try and get them to bend to my will because I want them to bend to my will. I mean, Calvin, we've had him since, since the very beginning. We've been friends longer than Calvin's been around. And when it came to Calvin's behavior, Calvin was a perfect angel until one day we took him to the dog park in Jefferson City, where people, very responsible and upstanding upper class Jeffersonian citizens, bring their pit bulls, and that they spend lots of time training and caring for. Pit bull owners always known for making sure their dogs are well trained and well behaved. Right, that's common, very very notable that pit bull owners take good care of their animals and ensure that they are safe animals and always under their watchful eyes. Very important to note that about pit bull owners. And this pit bull, for whatever reason, he was just the one in a billion that decided to bully and harass and terrorize Calvin, and started circling him and attacking him. And I had to pick Calvin up and get him out of there. And then the pit bull was trying to attack me to get to Calvin. And Calvin was never the same. He has always been violent towards other dogs that are larger than him. For some reason, if a dog's smaller than him, he doesn't care. But when we got George, he tried to murder George. And I was able to train Calvin using positive reinforcement all the way up to that point. But when we got the second dog, if I hadn't done something drastic, then Calvin would have killed George. So there was really only one way that I was able to research to find to stop Calvin from trying to rip George's faces off. George still has scars on his face from Calvin trying to murder him. And it was to use a shock collar to stop Calvin's behavior, because after he had gotten attacked by that dog, his psychology changed, and they're not humans. So the trauma has stayed with him. And he's a loving, sweet, kind dog, unless you're the postman, which is a different story. But, postman, they're kind of asking for it. But but when it comes to other dogs, I want to protect Calvin from hurting dogs, but also because I think a lot of people don't understand things about liability. So we're talking about shock collars in general. A dog, whether you like it or not, even if you think it's a human and treat it like one and treat it like a member of your family, if a dog attacks and kills another human being, it's not going to get treated like a human. It's your responsibility and your liability. Yes. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
It should be about protecting other dogs and other humans from violent attacks from a dog that you have. So what are your thoughts on that? Is that reasonable, or am I still a cruel bastard?
No, I think that's reasonable, and I think that's why context matters. And I mean, like we've talked about this before, I'm in agreement. Like once a dog, starts going after people, if they bite someone, if they there's a point where, you have to do something about that dog, and you cannot let it continue to exist around people. And if you can, if you cannot bring yourself to put that dog down, then it's your responsibility to keep it isolated from everybody for the rest of its life. And, that's not great either. But if you're set up to where you can do that, then okay. But your priority is that you are not causing harm to other people. And I do think, and this is where, like I said, with context, there is a time for negative reinforcement. I think what Hasan Piker was doing was not the same context, right? It was, and there was none of those things were the same in the consideration for disciplining his dog. And I also think that, dogs in some ways in this sense are like children, in that you also have to manage your expectations of what's reasonable to expect from them. And I don't know that it's reasonable to expect your dog to lay silently in the background for hours on end, while you stream. So if that's not something that is suitable for your dog, then why put them in that position or not allow them to move around at all? So I do think with the case of Hasan Piker that it was all about the context. It was all about the anger that he was spewing out himself. And so we've talked about this before. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but people will get more upset about animal abuse, particularly to dogs, it seems, than they will even to things happening to children. Like there is just something, and I don't know if it's because, dogs kind of, they have that undying loyalty, right? And they will forgive you for pretty much everything. And, that unconditional love, and people kind of tend to project, I think, onto their pets sometimes. And so I think that innocence or that vulnerability brings out extreme protectiveness in people. I don't know. But it is true. Like if you are going to, it's well known, well researched that kids who from an early age, or, and adults too, for that matter, who show cruelty to animals, there is something wrong with them. They have psychological problems that manifest themselves later into every aspect of their life. And so there is something about that. And I think that, how somebody behaves with animals and children tells you a great deal about them.
Yeah, agreed. And I'll say this, not to just like pat myself on the back or anything, but because I actually think it helped my training, was I actually shocked myself with that shock collar. I did. I used it on myself because I think, people would say, oh, why don't you use it on yourself? And I was kind of like, oh, okay, it's actually not a bad idea, because I wanted to know what setting to put it to, so it didn't have to be, max. You don't want to max setting shock the hell out of the dog. You want to put it at a level that you think is reasonable, so that it's just above a vibration, just kind of a sting. You know what I mean? So that they understand whatever this behavior is doing is extremely dangerous, and they need to stop. And now we don't even have to use it at all. That's the nice thing about it, is that once we got that behavior, corrected and trained, then you don't need it anymore. And here's the thing: I understand. There's a lot of pit bull owners, people who want to own these, very dangerous dogs, who aren't able to control them. And you think about, like, there's probably women who live in dangerous neighborhoods. Maybe they live alone and they want to have a big dangerous dog that they cannot physically restrain. Well, there's only a couple of options for people like that, Camellia. They can have those pronged collars, which, I'll be honest, I've seen those people with pronged collars, and sometimes even those, they don't work, because you still have to be able to restrain the dog. And a lot of those big dogs can take a lot of pain, especially when they're angry and they latch on. But if the pit bull owner with their 400 credit score can afford a shock collar, and they can't restrain their dog, probably they need one, right? They just have to, go downtown to the payday loan place and get enough money to pay for it. It's about $50.
Oh gosh. Well, here's the thing is, like, I think that when all of this stuff started coming out with Hasan Piker, if you read through the comments on some of these things with these people who have paid attention to him at all, I guess, for any length of time, like, I've never watched, like, that dog video was the only thing I've ever watched from him. But they said, that when he had been talking about getting a dog to begin with, that, somebody in the chat or whatever, said something about avoiding certain kinds of breeds because, they have, health problems, or they have trouble breathing or whatever, And so he was like, his response to that was like, who cares? It's just a stupid dog. And so, like, that level of callousness, I think, contributes to people's perception of how he interacts with dogs. There were all of these people who were supporting him that were in the comments trying to defend what he was doing. And it's just like, it's so sad, like, on so many levels, that you can't, separate yourself from someone enough to realize whenever they're out of control.
There we go. Camellia Petersen here with her moral lens.
I am by no means the authority on that, but
no, but Hasan, he built his brand on empathy for the oppressed, right? But do you think that this treatment of animals kind of really speaks to something deeper in his psychology?
Oh, 100%. I mean, clearly, like, we all have that dark side of our nature, right? You talk about, if you read much from Carl Jung and all of those kind of psychological things, we all have that in us. And the thing that we have to do is to find that balance. And denying that is within you, I think that is where you come up with, on the left, what we call this toxic sympathy. I think that is a denial that, everybody has dark and light within them, and they have a tendency towards, human nature does have a cruel side to it. And so, we are always appealing, to the better angels of our nature, so to speak. And so I think that this is something that he's done, is he's used this so much that he denies this tendency within himself and does not confront it, does not address it, and does not do the things that he needs to do to be a better person.
There we go. Camellia Petersen, she's very rare. She only is on this show twice a week, so you can't miss her appearances. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Central Time. Camellia, what are we doing this weekend?
Oh, wait. We're not Oompa Looping.
No, we're not Oompa Looping. It's not Oompa Loompa Doopa-dee-doop.
But we are going to listen to a little polka, maybe drink a little beer. You're going to wear some lederhosen.
And all of our friends are welcome. Yes, I will be wearing the traditional lederhosen. Stephanie's got her dirndl. Will we be seeing you in a dirndl this year, Camellia?
I am going to pull it back out, and so I shall be there in Oktoberfest attire.
Hey! Oktoberfest, and everybody's welcome who wants to hang out with us in Herman, Missouri this Sunday. Justin Petersen, my brother, is even going to be there, so it's going to be it's going to be a thing. And I'm even told that Jody might be coming as well. So, and my dad and Mario, somebody's got to be able to carry me after I drink 2 or 3 steins full of that beer. So
hopefully you won't lose anything this time.
I know, God, that was such a nightmare last year. If you want to hear that story, then you're going to have to come and join us this Sunday.
Yeah, that's right.
In Herman. All right. Thanks, Camellia. We appreciate all you do for us and all you do for freedom in the United States. You're a great Missourian. Have a good one.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Camellia Petersen. She's a very rare Camellia, at Rare Camellia over on X. Follow Camellia. Make sure that you give her some love. She works so hard for us, and she's also been a patriot, Petersen's patriot, donating $17.76 a month to the Wake Up America show for 3 freaking years. Can you believe that? So huge supporter of us. Without Camellia, there would be no Wake Up America show. She's been an intrinsic part of it, and she's been on since the very beginning. We love Camellia.
But I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public. I wanted to not betray my friends' trust in that way. But I did share it with some people in government because it happened really quick. It was, it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect. And in those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave nothing unturned. So I shared it with a few people. Don't know where it went from there, apparently. But here we are. So one of the reasons, Blake, that I'm glad to have this now public, it was not mine to share publicly, but one of the criticisms we've received is that we don't care. We're not investigating every lead. We're not looking under every stone, and that somehow we're just sweeping things under the rug. And when I say that we want justice for Charlie more than anybody else, I really mean it, and no stone unturned. I mean, I don't know if you want to chime in on that part alone, but I have more to say.
Yeah. So it has been so frustrating to have people blow up about this. Yeah. And I've certainly stated publicly, the reason I haven't weighed in on things is I am an eyewitness to events, and they've said, don't comment on things because anything you say can mess that up. I don't want to mess up any trial for the person who did this.
That's
Interesting. So Will Chamberlain is going to join us here in just a few minutes. I mean, if you thought the conservative movement was going to be drama-free, think again. Candace Owens turned what was already a tragic moment into a full-blown political grenade, lobbied directly at Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's legacy, and the entire influencer ecosystem here on the right, of which I am a part. Charlie Kirk was assassinated still just days ago, if you think about it. It's a shocking blow to this movement and to many of us personally who knew him. Rather than allow this moment to be one, of course, of mourning and unity, Owens opened the lid on a conspiracy theory that's ripping the right apart. So here's what she's alleging. This is why this is going to be one of the most consequential fights in MAGA in months. Owens claims that prior to his death, Charlie Kirk was under extreme pressure from pro-Israel donors. She says that he lost a $2 million donation because he refused to, quote, cancel Tucker, exclude Tucker from his events, and resisted bowing to donor demands. That's what Charlie Kirk's message was. According to the Jerusalem Post, Owens leaked text messages supposedly from Kirk lamenting he just lost another huge donor over his refusal to conform on Israel. So she further alleges that Bill Ackman, a major donor, plus external actors, staged a kind of private intervention to force Kirk back in line on Israel. That meeting, she says, involved pressure, coercion, and threats, effectively blackmailing him to adopt pro-Israel positions. Ackman has denied these claims publicly, saying he never threatened, coerced, or blackmailed Kirk. Then Owens goes further. She says that Tyler Robinson, the accused shooter in Kirk's case, was framed. She claims the FBI withheld video evidence, footage of a woman walking with the suspect, to suppress a different narrative. She also says that Kirk predicted his own death. She claims that multiple people told her that in private communications, Kirk confided that he believed he would be killed. Turning Point USA is pushing back hard on this one. Andrew Colvett said that he had cordial relationships with many of these Owens has named, and the idea of blackmail or intervention is baseless. Bill Ackman released private WhatsApp messages between him and Kirk, attempting to dispel the blackmail narrative. He insisted that the conversations were cordial, denied any coercion, and said the intervention as described by Owens never happened. Critics inside the conservative movement, including Charlie Kirk's pastor and longtime associates, are now jumping on Owens' case, saying that she's rushing into conspiracy theories in a moment of grief. They argue that she's doing damage to Charlie Kirk's memory and to the cohesion of the movement. Some voices point out that Owens has recently drifted towards more extreme positions and conspiratorial thinking. I call it schizoid. And this may be a moment where these tendencies are now colliding with real tragedy that become actually destructive to the MAGA right. So why does this matter? Right? If your movement is built on truth, then when one of your leading voices starts making unverified claims, then you risk losing not just influence, you're going to be laughed out of the room. The left, of course, is laughing when we're arguing amongst ourselves. The right, we can't really afford internal civil wars right now. So the fight is going to test whether MAGA has the discipline to survive the personality cults. MAGA built on a personality cult. It's desperate for more and more cults of personality. Of course, nobody can beat the ultimate cult of personality, Donald Trump. No one can compete with him on that. Now, Owens, she's not just talking about Kirk. She's talking about every conservative influencer, every donor, every platform. She's essentially saying you either, toe her line or you will die. Or you either toe the Israel line, right, or you're going to get murdered. That's what she's saying. So it's kind of a terror tactic that she's arguing. She's accusing a billionaire of blackmail, which, if she's wrong, bad move, right? She's accusing the FBI of suppressing evidence, which, quite frankly, points to canvas, probably true, even if it's not as she says it is. And those are serious claims. There's going to be lawsuits. There's going to be defamation. There's going to be countersuits. It's no longer just intellectual warfare. This is legal warfare, and she's being sued by a lot more than just Brigitte Macron over whether or not, she has a penis. So Candace is opening up herself to a lot of legal recrimination. And because I'm not a lawyer, but I know a few, then I'm going to bring one on the show today. His name is Will Chamberlain. He's coming on this morning to talk to us about this topic. Good morning, Will, and welcome to the Wake Up America show. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, any truth to Candace Owens' claims that Charlie Kirk may have been, well, not essentially blackmailed, but pressured by his donors to cancel Tucker? Is that part true?
I mean, I haven't read all the evidence of this that she's presented, but it looks like there's something to that. I mean, and I can kind of understand. I mean, read it as pressure, read it as just Jewish donors being like, I'm just not willing to fund you if you're going to put up anti-Semites, which means that my dollars go to anti-Semites, right? So you can frame that as either pressure or as just a donor being like, I don't feel comfortable supporting your organization if you're doing this. It's, I mean, in the same way that you might withdraw a donation from an organization that you saw do something you didn't like, or that you thought was going in a direction was that it was wrong for you. That's something that you might do as a Jewish donor. I mean, I think, in terms of the strategy, I don't think it's a great strategy from Jewish donors. I think being sort of overly sensitive to this kind of stuff, not willing to kind of play into the broader, bigger tent is probably unwise from a strategic perspective. But I think that, people are reading in this is like, oh, it's blackmail. It's like, well, think about it in any context when you're supporting a nonprofit. You're not obligated to do that. And if you feel like the nonprofit isn't really aligned with your vision, then maybe you'll just stop.
There we go. Yeah. Well, I guess if I was donating to an institution and they had prominent speakers who were like, we need to stop the influence of agnostic libertarians who like cryptocurrency on I might feel like I might want to pull my donations to such an institution, but you make a good point there about the broader movement. But Candace Owens goes farther than that. She's making other claims as well. She talks about Charlie Kirk being murdered by perhaps someone other than Tyler Robinson, and that the FBI may be suppressing evidence. Many of these FBI officials, of course, who were friends with Charlie Kirk. Does that go too far?
No, that's insane and malevolent. Because she's not only accusing the FBI of colluding, she's including the entire top level of Turning Point with also colluding. Because remember, they're in possession of all the evidence. They were recording the assassination in 4K when it happened. That's Tyler Bowyer, Andrew Colvett, all of Charlie's closest friends are supposedly in on the assassination if what Candace says is true. That's insane. That's malevolent. It's obnoxious. It's insulting but it's Erica Kirk too. That's what actually, it's hard to imagine that Erica Kirk is the CEO of the organization. So, you're basically putting her in on her own husband's murder if you're saying that there's this massive cover up, because the Turning Point people will have to be in it because they would possess the evidence of it. So it's an appalling and contemptible thing to say. She should be thoroughly ashamed of herself. If you're a person who might have been persuaded by some of this or might be believing, you should stop. It's obnoxious. You are in, the necessary, in order to believe what Candace is saying, a necessary prerequisite is to also believe that the top level of Turning Point was involved, including his wife, the current CEO of Turning Point USA.
Well, it's easy to believe something like that if you've bought into so many of the conspiracy theories that people like Tucker Carlson and others have been promoting recently. Will, it's been a really challenging time for those on the MAGA right. Trump, of course, always expressing his commitment to Israel, but you have people like almost was Attorney General of the United States, Matt Gaetz, accusing AIPAC of scanning barcodes. Ironically, he claims for to donate to people at meetings. This is AIPAC. You have Candace Owens accusing the Jews of doing absolutely everything they can to undermine the United States and President Trump. Tucker Carlson seems to be backing them up. This seems to be a sort of a spiritual rot. What do you think, in your view, pushed these people over the edge? Candace Owens, Matt Gaetz, Tucker Carlson. What do you think they're chasing here?
Two dynamics. First, President Trump has literally delivered too much winning for content creators, meaning that things are going too well. And historically, this has been true that when the party out of power usually does better in the commentary space, they make more money in commentary. That's been true for decades. Yes. The reason being that their base is more activated, more angry, more wanting to listen to commentary. Whereas our base, for the most part, especially normal people, are like happy with how things are going, happy with who's in charge, don't feel like they can focus on the problems in their own life and, go hang out, not worry about politics so much. And as a result, so there's fewer people tuning in. The people who are tuned in are more politics obsessive, which sort of leans them to tilt more in a conspiratorial way. It doesn't mean that everybody does that, obviously, but I'm just talking about, in broad generalities about the proportions of your audience. And there's also less to talk about, complain about on your own side. So you kind of have to go with what's available. So I think you end up seeing people go off in crazy directions. So that's one dynamic. The second dynamic, which I think is under discussed, I hit on this yesterday because Tim Pool asked a question. A lot of people got angry at him, but I thought it's actually there. It's a substantive question that deserves some answers, and there's some dynamics people aren't really thinking about. Why is Israel losing the PR battle so badly? And we're so used to the idea that Israel does really well in terms of its own PR. I think especially in the last 5 years, maybe the last 5 to 10, there's been a massive democratization of both social media and political influence via social media platforms and access to the internet. I think you're seeing, basically the entire world is getting access to the internet, and the entire world getting access to the internet is quote unquote not good for the Jews. And I'll explain why. There are 2 billion Muslims in the world. And there's only 15 million. I said 20 earlier, but it's only about 15 or 16 million Jews. So in a PR environment, which is dominated by engagement and clicks and likes, the state of Israel is operating at like 100 to 1 disadvantage off the top. There's just a much bigger market of clicks available to those pitching narratives that appeal to the Muslim world, and the overwhelming narrative that appeals to the Muslim world in the status quo is an anti-Israel narrative. So I think that's another piece of it, where you just have and it doesn't take much. I mean, it could, there also could be bot farms that are being hired by foreign governments too, to kind of shift people in their direction. It's not, you don't hire the influencer. You don't pay the influencer off. You buy a bot farm and have the bot farm like all the influencers' tweets that tilt in your direction, saying, eventually speaking as somebody who uses social media every day, you find yourself being pulled in the direction of the more viral your tweets are. Right. You think I'll tweet more about this. I get positive feedback from tweeting this way.
Audience capture situation.
Yes. Not intentional or anything, but just, people captured by their audience. So those are a few of the dynamics I would say explain why things seem a little crazy.
What do you make of all of these accusations about $7,000 being paid by Israel to influencers to post pro-Israel content? Every time I post something pro-Israel, which I've done in the last few weeks, just to sort of take a stand and to differentiate myself amongst my libertarian peers. So I think many of them have what I would call a very sick and twisted form of Israel derangement syndrome. I'm accused of getting paid $7,000. I'll tell you, I've been accused of being a Jew lover, which it's technically true. But I thought all Christians were supposed to love at least one Jew. But what do you make of these accusations about that are coming from? I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene seems to be on board. Matt Gaetz.
I'm sad they're not true. I'd be owed tons of back pay.
Yeah, I know. The Jews are notoriously profligate. The Jews love to spend money.
I know. Where's
do you know any Jews?
I could probably find like 130 or so tweets in the past few years that have been pro-Israel. I tweet a lot. So there's probably 130 pro-Israel tweets. That's $1 million. Where's my check, baby?
But do you think the opposite may be true? Do you think that there may be money flowing in from foreign agencies? Do you think that Qatar is involved in actually propping up and possibly even funding some of these people? You have former Congressman Matt Gaetz. He's got a huge bully pulpit. He seems to have done a complete and total turnaround. 6 or 7 years ago, he's tweeting about how much he supports Benjamin Netanyahu. Now he's accusing people like us of getting paid $7,000 to have the conversation we're having right now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Matt Gaetz. I don't understand it, honestly. I don't want to speculate too badly. But it's, I think what he's tweeting is kind of ridiculous. The $7,000 thing is just like one of these absurd studies, or like they found one contract with a social media company, influencer company, that they divided the amount of money they got in the contract with the number of tweets, and it came out to number of posts rather. I think it might have not even been on Twitter, and it was $7,000 a post. But that doesn't mean that the influencers themselves got that money, or who those influencers were, if they're real people. I don't even know. I think it's all kind of silly, speaking from personal knowledge, like the Israelis are actually pretty cheap.
No.
This is not.
Now we're going to get the anti-Semitism out.
No, it's just like, I went to, here's what they'll do. And this is sort of public knowledge. Like if you're an influencer of a certain status, like they do trips, and they'll cover your flight, and they'll cover your hotel, and they'll show you around. And they'll show you the Golan Heights, and they'll show you, Jerusalem. They'll show you Tel Aviv. They'll show you the Gaza Envelope, the Nova Festival. This is, that is a part of what they're, that is part of their public relations campaign. They want people, they want people to see the country. They want people to see what happened. And they're willing to fly you out to make that happen. But they don't pay you. Like they literally, they'll show you Israel. They'll fly you out, coach, and
Will
that's
there at
what
least
they'll
be
do.
bagels on the flight? Because if so, I'm on board.
The breakfast at the hotel was pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like that definitely is true.
Well, I know a few people in government that take those trips. Candace Owens is accusing billionaire Bill Ackman of blackmail, accusing the FBI of suppressing evidence. Those are pretty serious claims. Lawsuits, defamation, countersuits. Is she opening herself up to a lot of legal trouble?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's got real problems. And she may have more problems with this fact that she's sort of insinuating that Josh Hammer killed Charlie Kirk or had some foreknowledge of Charlie Kirk's death. That's insane. Well, there's this tweet that Josh Hammer put out the day before Charlie Kirk died, where he quote tweeted a very old Donald Trump tweet that talked about public executions and said based. And people were like, aha, you knew it was coming the very next day. It's like, well, you forget that on September 9th was the day that the full video of the Irina Zarutska killing was released. That was the day. It was either that day or the evening before. So, that was the day we really saw her, clench at her throat, and we saw the whole thing and how terrifying it was. And we're talking about this DeCarlos Brown dude who had 13 prior felonies or something. So everybody was talking about death penalty. And so that's obviously what Josh Hammer was talking about. And yet Candace, knowing, even after having that pointed out to her, decided to go on her show and call Josh Hammer filth and scum and subhuman filth and insinuate that he was responsible for his friend's death. That's like, I didn't watch her show because I would rather, there's a lot of things I'd rather do than watch Candace Owens' podcast. But from what I gather, there is probably actionable defamation in there, which is not surprising because she's already got actionable defamation issues with regard to the Macrons, because she decided to make a big deal about Bridget Macron being a woman when she's clearly not, or Bridget Macron being a man rather when she's clearly not. And I think Candace really, I remember when she was saying, "Oh, I want to go through Discovery," or she went on Tucker Carlson after Macron sued. "Oh, I'm looking forward to Discovery," and she recently filed a motion to dismiss because trying to get out of Discovery, because her lawyer must have showed her what the bill for Discovery through trial was, and it's not small in a serious litigation with a well-funded opponent. Josh Hammer could do the same thing. And also sue her in Delaware she decided to incorporate her company in Delaware, which means she gets to deal with a Wilmington jury on a defamation claim in a place that doesn't have any sort of anti-SLAPP protections. I think she's in real trouble, and I think that she's just opening herself up to big lawsuits in places that are not friendly for defamation defendants.
Now, Will, this is why we bring you here, and we consider you kind of a trusted source for news on the Wake Up America show, and our audience certainly looks like they're appreciating it. So thank you for being so generous. But please tell us anti-SLAPP protections for those of us who are not in the law.
Sure. So a SLAPP, S-L-A-P-P, is a strategic lawsuit against public participation. These are lawsuits against media outlets. They're just generally, the idea is that they're a whole schema of, these statutes exist in 50 states in different forms, trying to punish lawsuits that are aimed to deter people from speaking up or participating in public life and public policy making. Some of them are very broad, and they say, well, if you sue somebody for their speech, that's a SLAPP motion, or that's a strategic lawsuit, and that means that the procedural effect of that is normally, to prevail on a motion to dismiss, you basically have to demonstrate as the defendant that the plaintiff has no claim whatsoever. On its face, the claim makes no sense. They're not entitled to relief as a matter of law. On a SLAPP motion, the defendant only has to demonstrate that the plaintiff is more likely than not to lose. And that's much easier than saying there's no plausible claim whatsoever. So when I say that there's not anti-SLAPP protections in Delaware for the type of lawsuit, for a defamation lawsuit like the one Josh Hammer could bring, what I'm saying is that she likely will be very hard for her to get the case dismissed before discovery, which means that you get the $500,000 to $1 million plus bill of going through discovery all the way to trial. There's no cost. There's no winner pays, or there's no loser pays provision. There's no fee shifting, which means that that's just a cost she would have to bear if Josh wanted to go forward with this. So that's sort of to explain what an anti-SLAPP motion is and how that works.
Do you think that it's important for people to counter the speech that Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are engaging in, or you just continue to let it go unchecked? Because at the time right now, these are some of the biggest voices on the right who are engaging in rhetoric that you're calling demonic in a public space. Will, what do you think the response should be? Lawsuits is one thing for Candace Owens, but Tucker Carlson continues to be on the speaking circuit for Turning Point USA while advancing ideas and ideals that I think Charlie Kirk himself probably found distasteful, if I had to guess. What do you think? What do you think the response really needs to be?
I think there's a category difference. I mean, Candace to me is beyond the pale because she's lying about people killing others. Like, to me, that's just what Candace is doing to Josh Hammer is just so. This is why I called her demonic. I'm like, you're lying. You're saying that one of Charlie Kirk's friends who's mourning his death is actually responsible for it. You're implying with all this conspiracy theory talk that ultimately all the Turning Point friends, the people who are working their ass off and dealing with the loss of their friend and their leader, are themselves responsible for his death too, because they would have been in on it. I mean, it's just contemptible conduct. I have no time for Candace Owens. Tucker, it's like, I hope Tucker changes his mind, but Tucker is still engaging in like a policy discussion at the end of the day. It's like, it is within the bounds of politics. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, and also the sort of anti-Israel stuff. There is a vein of that on the American right. So as a person who runs a thing like NatCon, I want to, I don't want to get too preachy about any specific position. Like, I think Tucker's obviously wrong. I'm really disappointed in the way he's going forward, but I don't have the same sort of like, nobody of good faith should be talking to this person that I do with Candace. Like, Candace to me is just beyond the pale.
When I think, NatCon, I think National Conservative, I think something closer, more akin to Pat Buchanan. I think more akin to something like paleoconservative. I don't think neoconservative, because when I think neoconservative, I typically think, the more interventionist foreign policy, more pro-Israel, or perhaps like a lot of the prominent neoconservatives were and still are Jewish. But when I think of national conservative, I think more Pat Buchanan. Pat Buchanan had a lot of those, the same views that Tucker Carlson and others are announcing. Would you say, is that a fair analysis?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Pat Buchanan was no fan of Israel. That's really obvious, especially historically. I mean, he was, you can go all the way back to, there's actually a Netflix documentary about a guy named John Demyanyuk, who was a Ukrainian guard who worked for the Nazis in World War II and was actually living in the United States. And there's a whole drama about deporting him to Israel for trial. And Buchanan at the time was active and opposed it and thought it was just BS. And he was wrong about that. I mean, Demyanyuk was, in fact, like the guy they said he was. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like Buchanan has, I think it's the worst part of Buchanan's legacy, but Buchanan has a lot of good to his legacy too. So, I mean, and he's certainly the American Conservative was historically the place where the American Conservatives where we published the NatCon Statement of Principles, for example. So, I'm published in the National Conservatism on a number of times. I don't like the direction the American Conservative has gone in the past year and change. I think it's like all completely obsessed with Israel and really consistently getting things wrong on Iran, things like that. But it's traditionally been the place for things like a more realist foreign policy, trade realism as well. Like that is the place where a lot of the discussion that kind of is the foundation of NatCon happens.
It's interesting because it's got a lot of libertarians excited because the libertarian movement under Murray Rothbard and Lou Rockwell and Ron Paul and many others, now being led by like Daniel McAdams and so many others at some of these libertarian think tanks and institutions, virulently anti-Israel. Daniel McAdams, who runs Ron Paul's foreign policy institution, for example, very pro-Russia, very prominently not a libertarian, but is a big fan of the way that the Republican Party has been moving, which I find fascinating because, I've sort of backed away from the more Ron Paul-esque foreign policy in recent years, just from having seen it so sort of up close and personal, that I worry that there's malign influence in my own movement from foreign actors. And I wonder do you wonder the same thing though in the NatCon movement?
Yeah. I don't really think that in the NatCon movement because the NatCon movement is, Yoram Hazony is the chair of the NatCon conferences.
But he did say at the NatCon conference recently that he was surprised at the level of anti-Semitism that he's been seeing in the NatCon movement.
Yeah, I mean that's true, and it's I don't know. I don't
following
want
what
to
you guys
accuse
are doing.
anybody
I'm
being
reading
foreign
your
funded,
stuff, Will.
and I don't want to accuse anybody of being foreign funded. One, and also two, I think I refer back to kind of the discussion we were having earlier about what is explaining the kind of direction of the movement, and there's a lot of other I think that's a much more likely explanation for what's going on, especially with prominent influencers, both that they are. They are content starved because the administration is doing so well, and there's a massive new audience for anti-Semitism as a result of the Muslim world getting onto the internet.
That makes perfect sense, Will, and that was going to be my guess of why I think that a lot of these people are behaving that way. And then also, we just saw, for example, in New York City, they had shut down this Chinese node of hard drives and computers and phones that they were using to try and disrupt communications in the United States. I think there's probably a lot of bot farming going on as well with some of that, which we've talked about. Will, is there anything else about this subject that you'd like to share that you think is important, or is there anything you'd like to plug before we let you go today?
I'll plug obviously just my own X account, which I post on prolifically at Will Chamberlain. I'll plug the Article 3 Project's Action Portal. We often have campaigns to get senators and House representatives to vote the way we want, probably the way you've wanted them to vote as well, if you're a libertarian. So that's at a3paction.com. Participate in those. And then finally, keep an eye out for the next National Conservatism Conference. Obviously, we're still about a year away from that because we just had one, but
I liked it when you guys had Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we want to be a Big Tent,
Love to see it, Will. I'll come one of these years. I'll make my way there. Thank you for all you do for our country, Will, and I appreciate your points of view. People should follow you over on X. And again, thanks for being so generous with your time. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, man. Bye.
Thank you.
To make, and that is nobody who has lied more to Congress than Donald Trump. And that's why I tore up his speech, because it was a manifesto of lies that I said at the time. So it's so cute almost that he's accusing somebody of lying to Congress.
Obviously, he wasn't under oath. It's a different.
Doesn't matter. He's the president of the United States speaking to the Congress of the United States.
Thank you so much.
It doesn't matter. Okay. I think it does matter. Lying under oath. Oh, the Democrats are mad these days.
Ploy, because you're so afraid of Zohran Mandami. By the way, when are you endorsing him? By the way, do you endorse him for mayor?
First of all, are you
going to endorse him for mayor?
Listen, you're a complete and total embarrassment right now.
Oh, why is that? Because you don't want to answer the question?
Is this supposed to be a video for your failed re-election?
You don't want to answer the question? Do you support Zohran? By the way, did you see his statement yesterday?
Listen.
An embarrassment on October 7th, blaming the Jews. You support that? Should he be the Democratic nominee for mayor?
First of all, I don't answer to you.
Should he be the Democratic mayor? Should he be the Democratic nominee for mayor?
Whatever questions I need to answer about the
so
mayor's
you think
race,
his statement yesterday was okay?
First of all,
that's sad.
First of all,
yeah.
Can easily extend the ACA right now.
Donald Trump
He's not my boss.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. And by the way,
so let me ask you a
why
question.
did you vote to shut the government down? Why did you vote to shut it down?
Let me ask you a question.
For years, you always lectured about how we need to keep the government open.
You're making a show of this to make yourself relevant.
It's sad. You could easily sign on to
You're embarrassing yourself
You could
right
sign on to
now.
this. The only embarrassment here is you could sign on to the bill.
Let me ask you a question.
You have 4 Democrats on here. Why won't you sign on to it?
Let me ask you a question.
It's a clean extension for 1 year.
You voted for the one big ugly bill, correct?
I voted for a tax cut bill that gave the largest tax cut to Americans in history, including, by the way, the average New Yorker getting a $4,000 tax cut. Are you against that?
You're embarrassing yourself right now.
You want to cut the standard deduction in half? Is that what you wanted to do?
The largest cut to Medicaid in American
we rooted out waste, fraud, and abuse, by the way. Tom DiNapoli, the Democratic controller of New York.
I was literally just about to say, that's 3 days in a row where we hadn't unlocked the bonus content. I was like starting to get nervous, but we just did it. Somebody went to the grift shop, and looks like they got a little grifty from the Halloween collection. Thank you very much to everyone today. We just unlocked the bonus content. Don't forget that phase 2 of the bonus content will come back soon. We are actually working on a phase 3, but we need to take a little break right now because we need to rejigger it so that you guys can have a good incentive so that you can unlock it. So thank you guys very much for everything that you do for us over here at the Wake Up America Show, for our family personally, because when you click like and you click follow and you buy gifted subs and you go to the grift shop and you buy coffee, then you're doing a lot for not just us, but for the movement, because I'm always out there spreading the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty. It's more than just me sitting at a desk talking to a microphone all day. I'm actually going to be in Denver, Colorado on the 18th of October. So not this weekend, but the weekend after. I will be in Denver, Colorado, giving my speech about 10 ways to save Western civilization with this one weird trick. Dash over on YouTube. I see you, bud. I appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out. I'd love to see you over on Rumble one day. I don't know if maybe it's not your platform, but I see you with the little YouTube symbol over there, and we're grateful that you're here, Dash. Dash, please do visit the Grift Shop. You can exit through the Grift Shop, like we like to say. We've got a really good promo going on right now, too. If you want to visit the shop, then check out the Halloween collection there, Dash, because you can get 15% off with code GOTH15. You've got a shot if you do the spin to win, too, as well, to get even a free t-shirt or $5 off your order, whichever one you like. 15% off with code GOTH15 for the Halloween collection. But if you want 15% off like your entire order, then do the little spin to win. If you do the spin to win, then you've got a chance to get 15% off of everything. But the GOTH15 code is for anything in the Halloween collection. Also, check out our new children's book, Javier Milei, the Afuera President. You can get it on Amazon. Head on over to forlibertyshop.com. You got that spin to win pop up there. You got to give us your email and your phone number so we can text you, tell you about all the exciting things happening here on the For Liberty Network. And we'll see you guys right back again here. What is today? Today's Thursday. Yes, that means Culturama with Daniela Pensac tonight, 7 p.m. Central on the Wake Up America show. And what's it on? What network is that on? Oh, it's the For Liberty Network. Enjoy the bonus content, guys. We'll see you right back again here tomorrow.